So,
Okay.
all right, hi everyone. Good evening and welcome to another Asha session. We do this like every month, every few weeks, as frequently as we can, and the whole goal is just to ensure like exchange of design knowledge and just share the things that we are learning, and hopefully like you can learn also a few things from here. So my name is Joseph, like I said, and it's good to have you here. Today we are joined by Arinze, and he's going to be talking about interaction design and in his experience. I'm just going to allow him introduce himself, but please keep your mics off until you are asked to at the end of the session. We have time for questions at the end, so it will be easier and it'll be better then for you to unmute when you are asked to do so. Arinze, what's up? How you doing?
I'm good. Good evening, everyone. To confirm again, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can. So just introduce yourself for people that do not know, and then you can start sharing your screen by the way.
Okay. So my name is Arinze Buchee Arinze Clinton. Currently I am well, I'm a mix of many things, but for shorter intro, I am product and interaction designer. Currently, I am an interaction designer at the Pier, and yeah, I pretty much like, well, summary, I like good stuff, good design, clean design, just generally just doing stuff the proper way. Yeah, so not a lot. Let's just get right into it. I'll be sharing my screen. Well, just want you to confirm if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I can.
Can you see my screen now?
I can see
Can
your screen,
everyone see
yes.
my screen? Okay. So today I'll be talking about the importance of interaction design in designing digital products. So interaction design as a discipline is, well, it's quite confusing. It's not usually straightforward because most times we find it sandwiched in user experience design and product design and whatnot, all those names that we have flying around. So it's really easy for it to get lost in the middle of all of that, but it's still a very, very important aspect of really important aspect that contributes its own, like it puts its own weight, contributes its own effort to make the totality of the user experience very desirable, which is what we want as the end goal. Well, I'll go over it again. I'm on Charles Clinton, interaction designer. And well, I would want to talk you through what interaction design is, first of all, before we start discussing on before we start talking about what its importance will be. Can everyone still hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So before we talk about interaction design, we would speak to people who discovered it, people who like made it possible for the rest of us to understand that there is a discipline of design called interaction design. And falls to Bill Moggridge. He's the co-founder of IDEO. For those of us who do not know IDEO, IDEO is like it's a form of design company. They do all forms of design, and yeah, they're like people you can regard to as pioneers of good design in many forms. So he is credited as like the pioneer, one of the pioneers of interaction design, because um, in the very early days when all these disciplines did not have names, he and like they were working on a physical product. In fact, credit him with the design, like the body design of the very first laptop ever. So he and like a couple people worked on that. So while designing that, after designing that, came to designing the software to match that hardware. He said like a couple of his videos, I'll share all those links after this session. Said he and his team discovered that they had been creating a different type of design. So it wasn't like they did not know what it was called, but it felt different, and it wasn't, they couldn't exactly define it by the terms of design they had as at the time. This was like the early 90s. So in their words, it wasn't product design, but they were designing products. So that's why like this still refers me back to where I said interaction design forms a part of a whole sum, which is user experience design. Product design is also there, and a lot of other disciplines, but interaction design is a very big part of it. So in their words, it wasn't product design, but they were designing products. It wasn't communication design either, although they employed principles from that discipline because like with interaction design, you have to communicate. You have to like ensure that there is clarity across 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 both ends, the two parties. So the interface is like the product is communicating to the user and then getting feedback from the user and all of that. So it wasn't communication design, and it wasn't computer science either. Although the bulk of the work they did was software, hardware. There were no mobile devices at the time, so it was mostly computers, desktops, and all of that. So it wasn't computer science either. So, but they discovered the core of it that it mostly had to do with establishing a connection between people and the digital products that they were using. So it's like there was a connection between these people and the products they were using their laptop, using their desktops as at the time and their laptops as at the time. There was a connection, obviously, because they were inputting commands and these machines were giving them feedback. These machines were giving them feedback, and that's that's made for like that give rise to like a complete experience, input, output, results, and all of that. So because of that, some years down the line, they termed it interaction design because it had to deal with the sum total of the processes that involved interactions between users and the products they were using. So on one end there's a user, on one end there's a product, and before these things can communicate, you have to be able to understand what the product is like prompting you to do, or in other like in another view, you understand clearly the tasks you want to complete with that product. But even after understanding it, you have to know how to use that product to complete that task. So while doing that, there's going to be a form of interaction. You're either going to tap a button or you're going to have to make a gesture or something. One way or the other, there has to be an interaction between you and that product for the desired results to be achieved. So in designing experiences around this, Bill Moggridge and his team discovered what we call today as interaction design. And yeah, for like a more clear definition, interaction design is the process of designing products and services in a way in which the designer's focus goes beyond the product and development to include the way users will interact with it. More simply, it means designing products with deeper understanding and concern on how exactly it will be used. So like all of this just lays more strength to what I stated before. Interaction design pretty much involves the processes involved behind you trying to design a product in a way. which in a way in which it is going to be very easy for the user to use. It's very easy to call that user experience, but beyond the user experience, there are a lot of facets to user experience, a lot of facets to it. But like with interaction design, you're primarily concerned about how the exchange of information and actions and reactions and inputs and outputs are going. How am I tapping my, how, like if it's a touch device, how am I tapping the screen? Do I have to tap it with do I have to long press? Do I have to just tap, or do I have to triple tap? All these are gestures and all these are gestures and actions that we are used to with our modern devices today. Triple tapping, double tapping, pinching with our fingers to zoom and to zoom in and zoom out. Even with the buttons on our devices, a single tap does a different action, a double tap does a different action, triple tap does a different action, and all of that. So it's very easy to miss that, but all of those things are things that come together to form what we call interaction design today. And interaction design actually extends way beyond digital products. It is very broad, in all honesty, because you would also find interaction design in discussions relating to physical products, well, design of physical products, industrial design, and all of that. Industrial design, physical product design, and all of that. So you would find interaction design in those discussions because also, say, for example, like a physical product, a table is designed a table is designed with the interaction between you and that table in mind. You do not just like when that table is being designed, we are thinking, whoever is designing the table, crafting the table, is thinking about your experience while using that table. It's trying to think how, in what position would you likely use this table? How comfy would it be? While using this table, would your legs have to be out or would they be in? All those nuances, all those are little things that they're things that you cannot just skip when you're thinking about designing products. So like I said, it actually goes beyond digital products. It goes to physical products. And well, for the purpose of this, like title reads, interaction design, the importance of interaction design, digital products. I'll just keep the scope to digital products. Maybe some other time we can talk about physical products. So the main thing after running through interaction design, why is interaction design important? Um, Before we delve into its importance, I would like for us to understand the place of interaction design as part of the bigger umbrella called user experience design. So I referred to it before, but like interaction design is again, it's not a smaller part pretty much. It's a part of the bigger umbrella called user experience design. So today in like our modern world, in our modern workplaces, with our job roles and job descriptions, we'll find a lot of names: product designer, UX, product designer, UX researcher, UX designer, UI designer, information architect, and all of that, usability testers, and all of that. So, but all these are like they are little parts that come together to form a whole called user experience design. And depending on the size of your organization or an organization, it might fall to one person to clearly it might fall the entire tasks under this umbrella might fall to one person or might fall to multiple people. So if we're thinking of an organization at scale, sorry, who's that? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. I've removed the person.
Okay. So I've lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah, I remember now. So like I was saying, like depending on the organization, um, the tasks under the user experience design umbrella might fall to one person or multiple people. So if you're talking about organizations at scale, for example, Google, Meta, Netflix, Amazon, we would see design teams or product teams split into finer roles. You understand? Well, like if you're doing a very small stuff or a mid-sized company, we're talking about a lot of us will be used to having to do all of all these things in one person because like companies are there about. So, yeah, we've gone over this. Interaction design sits within a larger set of design disciplines and practices, all ultimately concerned with the experience, design, and interaction of people with, sorry, where's this noise from? All ultimately concerned with the experience, design, and interaction of people with machines or products. The labels can be confusing and tend to describe overlapping activities and processes, which will be carried out by one or a number of people here, as one of them is. So it's just like reiterating again, saying that depending on the size of the organization, one person or one person might take on the full responsibilities of all that comes under user experience design, or might have someone specifically cut out for interaction design. So yeah, this is like a diagram. Can everyone see this diagram really clearly?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So for like more context, this is like diagram of what user experience design is. So user experience design forms like the sum total of sum total of what this circle is. And then under you can see we have visual design, we have interaction design, we have human computer interaction, we have sound design, we have human factors, industrial design architecture, information architecture, and all of that. So quickly running through each of these disciplines. User experience is like the big umbrella, like that covers everything. Interaction design, we have run through what interaction design is. Then we'll talk about visual design. Visual design is like that's like where UI, like interface, the core interface design, design of those interface elements, the buttons, the visuals, the forms, typography, all of that, where they fall under. So all of that falls under visual design because that's more visual. And then the content, the writing, that's like we'll talk about like UX writing and all of that. Having to have these buttons have the right labels, having to have text be very explicit about what things should be and what users should do. Then we'll talk about information architecture. That's breaking down a whole system into logical parts that are linked to each other. Like so a user can make sense of where they are on a product and know how to get to the other parts or navigate away from where they are, stuff like that. So then the architecture should refer to, say, well, I think they might have called this, so it's better if they call this like the physical product design, but architecture should refer to the the build of whatever medium it is you're going to interact with this product with. The build of whatever it is, if it is going to be a tablet, if it's going to be a mobile device, if it's going to be a laptop, if it's going to be a bigger screen, because these days we have bigger screens that people can interact. Like say, um, at a couple of events, there are a couple big touch screens. Some of them are part of walls and all of that. All of that, all of those are interfaces and all of that. So, yeah, sound design also like sound design like there we'll be talking about like the prompts you receive on your device. Say your alarm goes off, the sound it makes, haptic feedbacks, when you tap certain things, the vibrations you receive and the sounds that follow it, all of that. You understand? You restart your device, there's a sound it makes. When you tap a certain button, it gives you feedback that you've done something by those sounds and all of that. So all of this, even the human computer interaction, which is closely related to interaction design, but like that one handles more of the physical part. So all of this come under this big umbrella called user experience design, and they all play their parts to ensure that the experience is solid. The experience of the user while using a product is solid, and like if they are happy while using it, they do not have to use a lot of processing brain power to use those products. What I mean by processing brain power is like users just recognize patterns and have them not recall things. Like if they are at a part of an interface, to like may just ensure that you design for them to be able to just recognize from old patterns, muscle memory, and patterns they are used to, than having to sit and remember how to use certain things so they will not be confused. So all of that now brings us like whittling down further into interaction design. But whittling down further into interaction design, um, we can't talk about interaction design properly if we have not talked about an interface, because before an interaction happens, there has to be an interface. An interface can be, like I mentioned before, it can be physical, it can be digital. In this case, digital products, we're talking about the user interface, which could be, in this case, what's showing here is a mobile device. It could be your watch for a wearable, it could be your iPad, it could be your desktop. Like I mentioned before, it could be a very big screen on the wall in a room. It could be anything at all. But an interface pretty much is that part of the system with which a user interacts in order to undertake their tasks and achieve their goals. So like for those of us who like for those of like say pre-COVID or post-COVID, for those of us who have to walk into physical offices and we have to clock in, they are like those little, I don't know exactly what to call them, but those little things on the walls that you have to like scan your thumbprint to check in time when you're going in. All of those things are interfaces. Every single, like so far as it's a medium that affords you the ability to input your command or input stuff. It might be information, it might be data, it might be a command, and then get feedback from that system. Pretty much anything that allows you to do that is an interface. um a remote, like if we got more physically, a remote like to control your TV screen is an interface to control that, to put in commands for your TV to know whether to switch channels or all of that and all of that. So more simply, it's what we interact with when we use any kind of digital hardware or software. That's what an interface is pretty much. Just the thing, interface. Okay, going back to the word interface. Interface means like interfacing two faces. So yeah, pretty much the product's facing you, you're facing product, and you guys are interacting and all of that. So interactional design has dimensions. Dimensions that like so those dimensions are like the components, composite parts of it that like enable interaction design, be interaction design. So in defining interaction design, you have to define the dimensions in which they show forth, the dimensions in which they work with. So things that you can look at and say, okay, interaction design is at play right here. So first off, we have words. Words like they encompass text such as button labels, which help give users the right amount of information. So not just text, not just button labels, like I mentioned before, it could be text on the screen. Say, for example, making reference back to those devices used to like check in, to check in time, to check in time of work and all of that. When you approach those devices, being like obviously if you're used to it, so you just put your fingerprint and you just scan and you go. But for someone who is not used to that machine or for someone who's not used to that device, it displays a set of instructions. It's kind of like says you would definitely see text that says place fingerprint, place finger here, or put face in the viewport, or pretty much all of that. Same as our same as our mobile devices. Like going back to the time of the old iPhone, I think iPhone 3s or thereabout, where there used to be slide to unlock. So that text that says slide to unlock is text that's telling you what to do for you to be able to gain access to that device. Slide to unlock. So that also is a part, like it's a dimension of interaction design that we might have not noticed, but it's just there because like it tells you what to do. It prompts your next action, which is to now slide to unlock, and then your device unlocks, and then how you're interfacing with that product is by sliding physically on the screen, and then the screen is the screen and the body of the iPhone is the interface for that interaction to occur. So the device has spoken to you with text and you've responded with actions, and then it has given you feedback by unlocking. So this is a complete interaction design cycle. Words. So visual representations also, graphical elements such as images, typography, I've mentioned typography like words, and icons that aid in users' interaction. So explaining this would, well, physical and digital products hold both of them because like, so for images, imagery can actually guide imagery, typography, and icons can actually guide your usage of certain products because bringing it to the digital side, when you're using like a bulk of our applications that we use, they come with, say, at your bottom nav bar, or let's just even like there are elements of it on my screen, like bringing my mouse cursor down here, it tells me reactions, it tells me comments, it tells me hide controls, tells me speaker view, tells me exit full screen. So these are icons that like signify actions that will happen when I click on them. So these like the people that built this product had the option to like just put icons that I would not recognize or none of us would recognize. And would like if there were icons I could not recognize, I would be stuck on this product trying to navigate my way around and not know how to use it. So that's a bad experience, obviously, because I would not even be using it because I do not know how to use it. But now there are icons, and the icons come with words, and then like all of the like it just explicitly explains what I should do when I want to do them, how to carry out those actions. So visual representations, 2D, graphical elements such as images, typography, and icons that aid in user interactions. And then physical objects or space refers to the medium through which users interact with the product or service. I've gone over this before, just to buttress it further. For instance, a laptop via a mouse or a mobile phone via fingers. So this is like three. It refers to how are you interacting with this product? What medium? Gone over it before. You can interact with your laptop via a mouse or the trackpad itself. You can interact with your mobile phone via fingers. Some come with a stylus. Well, all of these things are just like defining what the physical things that you use to interact with these digital products are. And then also, yeah, next couple time. So time relates to media that changes with time, such as animations, videos, and sounds. So time is also an element of, is also a dimension of interaction design in the sense that like certain things have to happen within certain time frames for you to understand what has been done, like for there to be successful interaction. So say you're on a screen, no, you're on your banking app and then you want to pay money to someone, you've typed in the amount, you've typed in the account number, you've gotten the name, you understand, you've gotten the name. A couple apps take time to resolve, a couple others do it really quickly. But that time frame in between typing that account number and seeing the name resolve from the bank, that's like something relating to time because that has to happen for you to confirm that has to happen for you to confirm who you're sending that money to. So in your interaction with that banking app, that helps you understand, like it helps you gain clarity into what you're doing. Because if not, you just try, if you type in the account number and it doesn't resolve a name, you can go ahead and send and you might be sending to the wrong person because you may have made an error with a certain digit in the account number or thereabouts. Also, like when you're done with this entire thing, the system has to tell you in a way that, oh, your your money transfer, your funds transfer is successful. So depending on the application, there might be a success animation, confetti flying around saying that this transaction has been successful. So you get feedback. You've input a set of instructions. Hey, this product, hey, Firstback app, I want to transfer 50,000 naira to OSAS. And then you've done that, you've input all the required information and you've put all the required command. So the system is telling you, the product is telling you, hey Arinze, I've effected that transfer. I've sent it to him. So yeah, animations, videos, like I mentioned, videos could help with that also. And sounds. Sounds like I mentioned, your physical product, your device, your phone, your mobile phone. You could have an alarm go off. So those sounds play for a specified period of time to call your attention to what the to what information, to what command you have given that device to. My Hey Siri, wake me up at 5 p.m. Siri sets an alarm for 5 p.m. and then at 5 p.m. and the sound starts to play. That lets you know that it's 5 p.m. And that sound is not just going to play forever because that's a bad experience. Nobody wants an alarm going off forever. It only plays for a specified period of time, just to ensure that the feedback from your device for that command met. And then five, behavior. Behavior is concerned with how the previous four dimensions. So behavior is concerned with how the previous four dimensions define the interactions a product affords. For instance, how like a user performs actions on the website or how a user can operate a car. Behavior also refers to how the product reacts to the user's inputs and provides feedback. So like this behavior just sums the entire dimensions of interaction design and then tries to let you know how the products respond to you. You understand the product's behavior to you when you've input a set of commands or information expecting feedback. And then yeah, like I mentioned, how users can perform actions on the website or how users can operate a car. So modern day cars come with like say if you're driving an EV, an electronic vehicle like a Tesla or something, you would be met with a lot of the interfaces on the car come with explicit instructions. So that aids your interaction with it, this physical. And yeah, that's just what it means. Those are the dimensions of interaction design. Can everyone still hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you, Paul.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So just a visual to like help you understand the five dimensions of interaction design. Um, so I'll wait for this to play out again. I'll wait for this to play out again. So like I mentioned, words, text for the one-dimensional, the visual representation, which are the buttons and all of that, images and all of that, 3D, the physical object used to interact with it, and then here, time, the animation showing you feedback of what you've done, and then the behavior telling you that this thing is successful or has failed or something else. So quickly moving on, I would like to go more in focus on number four from here. So motion design, like using motion design as a tool to achieve better interaction design. So yeah, motion interactions refer to some total of things that make objects move because objects that do not move do not interact. And an interaction involves some sort of communication, and communication is about movement. Our vocal cords vibrating as we speak, our hands and arms writing or typing as we send email or instant messages, sound and data moving between two entities. So this was said by Dan Safar. Dan Safar is one of the leading pioneers of interaction design. So this is one of the definitions he gave of motion interactions and like. So this is a clear example of how motion design aids interaction design. Like say using motion design as a tool to aid in interaction design. So here you have a product window on your screen, and you're trying to close it. So one of two things could happen. You could just close it and it disappears. Like not it doesn't like it's not systematic. It just goes away. A part of you is going to be really confused. Where did you go to? Okay. Even if you went away, I want it back. How can I get it back? I can't find it. Pretty much all of those questions begin to pop up. Where did that window go to? I want to open Spotify again after closing it. Where do I find it? So this now is like clearly showing you on closing or minimizing, it's showing you where the window went to. So in the case of reopening it, you go back there and click it. And how is that achieved? Motion design, because it pretty much showed you the progression. Clicking minimize, having it go like it's being sucked into something pretty much. But that was intentionally designed to show you the interaction of you closing it, telling the system or telling this product close, minimize, and then showing you exactly where it's going to, and then affording you enough information to know that you could bring this thing back from here. So in an alternate universe, or like like say you want to approach this problem differently, you could use words, but how clearly can you explain? Even if you keep writing a lot of words, it's still going to be very ambiguous. So here you just use motion design as a stone to kill multiple birds, because for someone who say, okay, if we're using words, we're constrained to what language we're going to use, because we might use words in English and then the Spanish person operating this device. How is the person going to understand when I say yellow button to minimize and it is going to go to the bottom right? I have to translate that to Spanish for the person to understand. Well, here it's just pretty clear. Even someone who's having first experiences with this product is just going to know that. Like when this interaction has been played out in his presence, it doesn't need to be done again. The person just understands how it works. So yeah, this is one example of motion design aiding interaction design and making it better. Without motion, obviously, there can be no interaction. Without motion, there can be no interaction because, like you mentioned previously, or like stated previously, you need to move for things to happen. You need to like have some form of motion happen before these products respond to you, before these digital products respond to you. So in modern day, motion has become a core part of the interaction models for most mobile apps and across desktop apps also. But we find a lot of it within mobile apps, or because there's been a rise of mobile apps. There's always been a rise too. But like these days, most things are found on mobile apps. Most solutions are built into mobile because we're approaching it from mobile first perspective. In fact, we would be unable to use our everyday apps without the subtle motions. So, fun fact is, you necessarily do these things every day, but you're not conscious of them. And also, that's also how good design tends to play its way out. Good design is invisible. I'm trying to remember where I heard that quote from, but like it said, good design is invisible. You do not feel it's like you cannot recognize it until it's taken away. So when it's missing, then you begin to find, then you see exactly what it was doing for you in the first place. So here I'm just like going to run you through quickly through how motion design plays in our everyday apps that we use. So for those of us who have the Premier League app installed, when you're seeing when you like open it like you open the screen to see it's match day, you're looking through match results. That's for this first one, this one right here. For this one right here, you do not see the rest of the information, and then the interface clearly tells you, the product clearly tells you pull for more. Clearly tells you pull for more. So that word, like those words now are formed a part of it, and then pull for more, you know you're to pull. So you pull, and that is your input. That is your action. And then in reaction, the digital product pretty much expands. Still giving you that bouncy feel because another thing is that animation, like most of the motion design you experience on these digital products, they have to be as natural as possible so it doesn't feel out of place for you. So it mimics a lot of natural motions. When things are extended, especially elastic things, they return back to form. So yeah. Right here, it's supposed to be elastic. You pull for more, you pull, you see the information, and then when you let go, it goes back up. That's for the Premier League app. And then on Twitter, for those of us who use Twitter, when you scroll, say you're scrolling to the top of your feed, when you get to the end of your feed at the top, it bounces. So letting you know that you've gotten to the end of your feed at the top, because like you've gotten to the end of your feed at the top. So with this little interaction, with this little motion to this interaction, you can tell that, oh, you've gotten to the top of your feed, and then maybe you can navigate somewhere else, or then you can pull to refresh in whatever case you may be. But all of this, for it to be shown properly, and emotion is used as a tool to convey these messages properly. And then on the far right, like browsing through Safari, when you minimize your tabs, trying to look through what tabs you have, and then you want to go back in. Say I have this Google tab, and then I'm trying to open it. On opening it, it just doesn't cover my screen. Like there's a conscious effort for it to cover my screen so that I am clearly aware of the knowledge that this is where it's coming from, and this is what is seeking to show. It's seeking to show me that there's a link between this previous view and the current view I am seeing. So it's growing, obviously, increasing in size and changing position. That's motion design. It has to move from place one to place two and grow from size one to size two. So all these are like summaries. Like if you begin to become more conscious of if you begin to become more conscious of these things in your everyday digital products, you begin to see them. You're swiping through page interactions because, like, say you're reading through stuff on Medium. When you scroll to the bottom, that bounce effect also happens. When you're swiping across to minimize applications, these things also happen. Like, say on an iPhone, you're swiping through applications. When you swipe through the current view you see to the next one, the view you see kind of like reduces in size and then goes away, and then the new one comes in and then increases in size. So very subtle things, but they just seek to help your interaction with these products become a lot better. So, yeah, like I mentioned, before these interactions happen with emotions, we have to also consider the movements that users would make to trigger these actions. Like in our case, swipe interactions, pull and drag interactions, eye movements in the case of if I remember clearly, there was a certain yeah, that was Samsung S4. When Samsung launched the S4, there was a feature it came with that allowed you read through pages. So the camera captured your eye movement, and then scroll the pages, especially like say you were reading through something, it scrolled those pages as regards your eye movement. So that's an interaction also from a product. And then eye movements, voice interactions, hey Siri, hey Alexa, general body movements, like in the case of an Oculus, when you use an Oculus and then with the hand thingies, I don't know what those things are called, with the hand thingies and all of that, there are different products that require different things. Some require you wearing like a couple things on your leg or on your hand, just pretty much to track body movement and just aid interaction between these products, like make them a lot better. And like I mentioned earlier, all of these interactions, they are all based off motion done in accordance with the 12 principles of animation. So, um, a lot of years back when things were still, what did I say? I'm looking for the right word. In the very early days of animation, because most of us credit animation and motion to Disney. That's defining it properly. Um, Disney released Disney released a couple principles that guide animation. Trying to pull it up. Give me a second. So Disney released a couple principles that guide animation, and I will just try to run through them really quickly. so that I'll just try to run through them really quickly so we just understand them. Because without this principle of animation, there's really nothing. There's motion design pretty much has no voice because every single thing on motion design is based on it. So there's squash and stretch, anticipation, staging, straight head action and pose to pose, follow through and overlapping action, slow in and slow out, arc action, secondary action, timing, exaggeration, solid drawing, and appeal. So, well, I'll attach links that would help you with further reading or further understanding of what these principles of animation are. Because, like, if I go in depth into what they are, it's a whole discussion on this one. It's a lot. So, those pretty much every single motion is guided by these principles of animation, and nothing can be done without them. So, in essence, just like a conclusion, static things are boring. They're very boring. Personally, I do not like when like you're using a product and even if they're like there's text to guide you through what to do. There are no like correlations with like behaviors, subtle animations, subtle motions, subtle things for delight and all of that. They tend to feel boring. So if say for example, for those of us who have used Duolingo, completing tasks on Duolingo come with a certain animation with the birdie thing and flying. So things like that, subconsciously, they make you want to keep completing those tasks. So it makes it kind of like just make affords you a better experience while using these things. Joy, like you feel a certain type of way while using this product because you're going to see a certain little delight that is going to make you just want to complete that action again. So static things are really boring, and motion design is a tool used in interaction design to enhance user experiences on various digital products, and overall helps us design better and more useful products. So from all of this, key takeaways would be what interaction design is. I mentioned previously, interaction design is the process of designing products and services in a way in which a designer's focus goes beyond the product and development to include the ways users will interact with it. Um, Also, interaction design sits within a larger set of disciplines and practices, all ultimately concerned with the experience, design, and interaction of people with machines and products. And then there are five dimensions of interaction design: words, which is one dimension; visual representations, two dimensions; physical objects and space, three dimensions; time, four dimensions; and behavior, five dimension. And then also, motion design is a tool that can be used to achieve better interaction design. And then also, yeah, never forget to run away from boring interfaces. Ensure you make things move. Or ensure you use products that make things move because they're just good. So for further learning resources, there is a bunch of things here. So I could share these links. I will share these links later on because it's really hard to collect them and share them in chat box. And if I share them in chat box, it will go away with this call. So I'll collect these links and share them on Twitter. I'll share them on Twitter. Yeah. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Arinze Buchee. If you want further clarity into what I've just talked about, or maybe extra learnings, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always willing to talk about this, go over it again, answer your questions, and then possibly learn together at any point in time. Um, oh sweet Jesus Christ, I'm talking for so long. I would take questions if anyone has any. Um, so happy to answer them. And yeah, that brings me to the end of my session. Does anyone have any questions? You could type it out in the chat and I would try to
Yeah,
respond to it.
yeah, thank you so much, Arinze. I think also if they want to ask questions, they can raise their hands and they can just ask the question directly. That could also be
Okay,
very.
yeah, there's that option also. You could just raise your hand, signify, raise your hands. Anyone? Okay, Tosin. Go ahead. You can unmute your
Okay,
mic.
good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to ask what kind of tools are used to achieve much interaction design? Like, if you want to actually get into it, what kind of tools should you go and like learn how to use and stuff?
Okay, so interaction design is, well, it depends totally. It depends on what what the end result is, because like I like to think of things in terms of results. I like to think of things in results. Like, so results should guide the result, or what you're seeking to, like what you're driving at should should define what tool you use. So there are a suite of tools, there are a lot of them. Um, so if you're going to create tiny animations that would like say that's one that was part of my presentation, that success animation. If you're going to create where I was talking about the dimensions of interaction design, if you're going to create things like that, your go-to tool will be Adobe After Effects. The other tools in the market that do things like that, but my go-to tool is Adobe After Effects, and pretty much it's industry standard. It's what is used at every top company you look at. So there, that is to create those tiny animations. But then, if you're dealing with page interactions, and then other behaviors, like those as part of the presentation when I showed you pull down to refresh and all of that. Pull down to refresh, or pull down to view more info, or tapping to grow, like zooming in to show the link between, to show the linking between the current screen and previous screen. You would be dealing with different prototyping tools. You could do that in Figma. You could do that in Principle. You could also do that in After Effects, but After Effects is a lot more complex, and After Effects is not so beginner friendly. So you could achieve things like that in Principle, Figma, ProtoPie. Um, there are other tools that exist. There's the one is InVision, but not a lot of people do not use InVision as much. There's Origami. Origami is Facebook's Meta rather. Origami is Meta's internal tool. They built it themselves. It's free to download. Just Google Origami. Um, and then there's Framer. There's Framer. Yeah. And there's a new one called Flow. They are just a lot, but they are a lot, and a lot more will spring up. But like I said, what the tool you use is it's going to be very result oriented. You're using a tool based off what you want to achieve at the end of the day. So there are things you want to achieve, and After Effects will do it better than Principle will. So you use After Effects, or Principle will do it better than After Effects will. So you use Principle, or Figma will do it better than all the rest. So you use Figma. So there's all of that. Well, there's a list of them. I would also share that list too.
All right, thank you. We also have Ajibade and Peace. So, would you like to take those questions now?
Yes. I will. I will take those questions.
Yeah, hello, Arinze. Thank you so much for this session. Um, During the session, I noticed that you brought some references from Interaction Design Foundation. So I would like to ask, for someone that is looking for a structured learning resource, like for all-round interaction design, would you recommend like um, paying? Would you recommend Interaction Design Foundation like as a structured learning resource? And if not, which would you recommend?
Oh, okay. So, interaction design is very, like, it's a good learning resource. It's a good learning resource. Um, I cannot give in-depth information about their program because I, I actually, like, I did not go through their program. I just take, like, so how do I put it now? I'm trying to gather my thoughts properly. So, my learning process was very fragmented. You understand? I had to pick up things as at like when I wanted them, then I just go to look for the source. So I did not go through the interaction design foundation full course, but like I occasionally go to their website to pick up resources. Maybe something must have led me somewhere, and then in quest of like deeper learning and deeper understanding, I would go to IDF, to the website, to just read an article or watch a video or find a partner there that has given explicit talks on that particular thing. So, but from what I have used from IDF, their structure seems very solid and things are explained clearly. And they give you a lot of background. Like things are not, they do not just explain, like say for a topic like interaction design, they do not just explain interaction design from what we know it's in like this modern day. They go back to talk about what it was, the history, the evolving. So yeah, I think I can actually vouch for and recommend Interaction Design Foundation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Answered my question.
Okay.
Okay, hi Arinze, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so my question really is like how do you let me structure it. Basically, you know how you can use interactions, right, to make the experience enjoyable for the user. But like where's like the line? Where do you draw the line between it being like an enjoyable experience for the user and just like being slow, like particularly for like animations, most times it makes like the
Sorry,
process
sorry,
slower. Okay,
sorry, I lost your point. Come again.
so like where do you draw the line, right, between like using interactions to actually make the user's experience an enjoyable one than like combining lots of animations or interactions in a design and now making like the whole experience slower and maybe less enjoyable. Do you get me now?
Okay, that's like trying to understand, find the fine balance between doing
Yes,
too much and
yes, yes,
doing it just right. Am I
yes,
correct?
yes, yes, exactly.
Okay, so I feel like I don't want to say that you would know because that is very, if I say you will know, it feels very, very ambiguous. Is that it just feels like putting salt inside food and then waiting for your ancestors to whisper is enough. So with that, for that, I think the best way to approach it is understanding, first off, trying to always sit in the mind of the user because we, like, as designers, that's pretty much what we're paid to do. We're paid to think for people who would use products that they do not even know exist yet, but it will solve their problem. So we are paid to like sit and think as those guys. So how best to approach this would be to shave off unnecessary things. So at all points in time, let simplicity sit at the top of everything. So sometimes we are caught in between, like as it happens to me, happens to a lot of us. Sometimes as designers, we're caught in between two boats. One, to make things like to flex our full design superpower and make things very, very visually pleasing. like go full on aesthetics and forget about functionality. But I think at all points in time we have to sit down and then try to balance it out. If an animation is not needed, like say say for example now a reference to the previous one I made, where I talked about a banking app trying to send money to Osas. Type it like when I tap, like when I open my application, you understand? When I open my finance, see my UBA app, I open my UBA app first off. At that point in time, I've had an interaction with the app here. But would the app tell me, like, would there be a whole success confetti flying around telling me you just opened your UBA app? That's not necessary. Like, I've opened it and I've seen it open, so I can tell it's open. So, in some cases, you have to strip off unnecessary elements. If if you've properly evaluated the interface and you can tell that a user is going to, like, it is explicit, it is very obvious that the user would know what they're supposed to do to carry out the next action. Like a button, if you see a button, because of muscle memory and usual conventions, you know that a button is to be pressed. If it's a button you miss, the the people building the product might take an extra step to make the button dangle. I'm sure we've all used products where we come to a certain point and then we might miss a certain action, or that action is a very desirable action. For us not to miss it or forget it, buttons are jingling, like they are shaking, or they are letting out sparks and they are letting things fly. So if you do not expressly have to do that, do not, because when when a lot of motion has been when a lot of motion in the bid to better the user experience, you now bundle in a lot of motion like to aid interaction, to make interaction better. It becomes clunky, it becomes cumbersome, it becomes like you're beginning to put strain on the user because I just want to send money for God's sake. Like I just want to send money and go my way. Do not like after every button interaction, do not tell me successfully pressed button or success. So I feel how best to approach it is just to always strip off the unnecessary elements. If a step is going to be very clear to the user, you do not need motion to buttress that point. If words are going to do the trick, if short text is going to do the trick, use short text. But in scenarios where you've used short text and maybe on testing, iteration, you have to iterate. You now see that that short text is not working, then you cannot employ motion. So it is not a one size fits all approach. It is just like how our products are. It's like you have to just keep testing and keep working on feedback. You might use words, you might use text, and text would be you might use text and text would be they don't do the work, but you've deployed the product. And then on iteration, okay, let's take out this text. Let's have something bounce. And then you have something bounce and then you release it again. And then you see that at that particular point, maybe there used to be a lot of drop off before. But at that point, there is not a lot of click through. Then you can now tell that, okay, this was necessary. So I hope you get me.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? Please, if you have questions, you can raise your hands or type them in. We are already like done officially with the session, so we're just asking and answering questions now. So if you have any questions, please ask now. And while you're here, please leave us some feedback on the session. Help us to do better in future sessions as well. The link is in the chat. And at the end, if you're interested in like getting updates on on future sessions, please also complete that feedback form. It's at the end. You'll see an option to add your email if you're not already on the list. Uh, Thank you so much, Arinze. Thank you so much, Arinze, for that.
Anytime.
Yeah. The
Anytime.
slides. Are you want to share a link to the slides here? For the people that are still here.
A link to the, okay. Well, I would share that with you. Well, I'll compile it properly, share it with you, because I have to
Okay.
export it and stuff like that. So compile it properly, share it with you, and then maybe you share it. And I'll share it on Twitter, so I'll share links with on Twitter too.
Okay. All right. So you guys see his Twitter and Instagram, Arinze Buchee. If you're not following him, please follow him. And we're also on Twitter and Instagram as Asha Kotori. Thank you all for joining this session. I'm going to stop recording now.